Okay, let's get the exposure locked on here. So today we're talking about the difference between constructive criticism and hostile criticism. I'd say hostile criticism is done in anger. Hostile criticism has an agenda to hurt the other person. Hostile criticism comes across when the person who is doing the critique is hurt already. And if a person has hurt in them, whilst that person is hurting, they tend to want to hurt the feelings of somebody else. If you hurt them, they want to hurt you back. All right. And even if you didn't hurt them intentionally, they want to, you know. And also, people do that to themselves as well. There are people who are hostile towards themselves. There are so many reasons why a person can be like that. And it tends to be because that's how they have been treated. So they have just continued to treat themselves in that way. But constructive criticism is actually a good thing, okay? Actually, there's one more about hostile criticism. Hostile criticism can come about when the person thinks they're giving you constructive critique, but actually it's hostile because it's not true, okay? So it could be that that person has their own unconscious biases, or they have issues within themselves and they're projecting onto you, okay? So, and in that way it's hostile, but possibly unintended, and that could be very hurtful. The analogy that came to me is that, you know, if you have orange juice in a glass and you pour out the orange juice and then you pour water in the glass, it's going to taste like orange juice, okay? So it's who is the person who is critiquing you or saying something about you that they don't think is they're saying, well, this, I see this about you, or you're like this, yada yada yada. You know, how far are they in their own personal development and their purification, you see? Because that's what the washing of the glass is about. It's about purifying. And so all of us has to know that we do have agendas, we do have blind spots, we do have biases. Some of these are unconscious. So when we go to critique another person, when we're saying, you know, you do this and you do that and I don't like it, or whatever, we got to make sure that we know that we aren't perfect and therefore we might have gotten it wrong. But there are some people, unfortunately, especially this is people who do reading sometimes, they will insist that you're that way because spirit has told them, and they have forgotten that the message, as they say, is only as good as the filter. If you're not a good filter, if you know, like my filter in my kitchen, I don't think I change my filter as often as it needs to be changed, but it makes me feel good anyways. I think I'm drinking clean water, so it makes me feel good. And so some mediums are like that. Some mediums, they forget to wash their filter, which is their own mind, and they feel so comfortable with the messages that they're putting out there. They'll say that, oh, spirit told me this about you, but actually, and I'm so grateful for our teachers that we've had. I'm not sure I can say their names, but you know who you are if you ever watch, and whoever knows me and knows, you know, our teachers, they have taught us so well. They have taught us so well, and the mentors that I've had, Brian Lynch being one of them. Brian doesn't mind his, you know, because Brian teaches and posts his things publicly, that he does workshops and things like that. And we've had fantastic teachers. Other ones I won't say their names because they don't publish themselves like that, and so maybe people don't even know that what they do. Yeah. So I'm so grateful that we've had such really good teachers. God, because we see so much interesting things out there, and as well people who think they're spiritual. Well, they are spiritual, but we are all maturing, okay, and we need to know where we are at to a certain degree, to at least know that it's possible that we can cause harm to others just because we can't see everything, we don't know everything, and how spirit might be giving a message, you may be relaying it incorrectly, or you're interpreting it according to how you see certain words. We must understand that everybody uses a particular word very differently, so even when you might intune a particular word or a certain feeling, you might be interpreting it according to what's in you, okay? And you might be biased against the person whom you're giving the reading to without even knowing. But anyways, that's like a sideline. And then constructive criticism, okay? Constructive criticism should be done not maliciously, not when you're angry, and it's usually done in classes, when you're in a teaching student environment, or even your own colleagues have to observe you. Like when we did counseling, we did triads, and somebody in the triad had to take notes and then give feedback. And it's really interesting because I had this lovely teacher. She was so nice. Like, I was like, oh Lord. Because we're not used to that. Coming from London, you're just used to cutthroat, like straight up, and being Jamaican is what it was like, straight up. But this teacher, she would do it in such a way, like when she gave us, feedback, which was a good word to call it. When she gave us feedback, I could remember one day there was a woman, like, I thought she was rubbish. She was being a counselor, and then somebody else was the client, and I just thought, like, this is shite, And then this lovely teacher, really beautifully spoken and everything like that, she said so many beautiful things and only chose one area for the person to work on, and said, I think you could work on this, la di 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 da da da. And in me, I'm like, why would she do that? Just tell the person this, that, let them do it. Let them get it. Like, our other teacher, there was two teachers. One of them was like straight to the point, and I loved it, And we were talking about being direct and things like that. This other teacher, like, he was like, Marmite, you loved him or hate him. People even tried to sue him. That's how bad it was. That's how people got their feelings hurt. But he's straight down the line, straight to the point, and there was no malice in it. There was nothing. It wasn't hostile. It was just his way of doing things was straight cut. But this other woman, she did it in such a way, I was irritated at first. But as the time went on and I was learning, like, oh, right, if you rip at somebody, if you tell, certain people cannot take it. Not everybody's built the same. Certain people can't take you pinpointing everything they did wrong. They can only take maybe one little thing, and then they'll take that away, they'll build, and then they'll build and build and build. Do you see what I mean? So I learned from that. That was real difficult learning for me. I'm like hardcore Jamaican, and we were just like, tell it like it is. Sometimes you tell it like it ain't, because the people were cruel. Some people are just not nice. But it was a learning for me as well to have such a beautiful teacher talk in such a beautiful way that was really irritating for me, and then I had to grow through that, and it helped me to grow. So we don't have to, and we mustn't ever say things in anger. That's what another thing I learned too through my own growth is, don't say things in anger. Because when you're in anger, you're being selfish. You're going to try to self-protect, and you'll be more venomous, especially when you're in that. You're right in the flames of your anger. You're gonna be real venomous. So you have to stand back from it and not say things when you're upset, and always not have an agenda. Do you see what I mean? So The next thing is that there are people who won't grow because it doesn't matter how gentle you are. There's people who are narcissistic, as we well know, and they don't like anything. And people who are narcissistic without even knowing that they are. Or some people who are very fragile. Some people's ego is very fragile. So you're not necessarily a narcissist, but you have no internal scaffolding. So there is no way for you to grow because no one can actually say to you, here is a point where you might grow. Here is where, like for example, you might have a friend telling you a story, something had happened maybe at their work, and you can see where the person can, might be at fault, and your friend is at fault, and you find it difficult to point out to your friend that actually you could have done X, Y, Z, and that would make the situation better. Some people can't tolerate that. So they're going to have a horrible work environment, not knowing that they're the one that's actually causing it. Do you see what I mean? I hope that makes sense. And sometimes you're the one causing the pain in your own life, but because everybody sees you so fragile or volatile, either one, that they can't say to you, here's some things you might do that's going to help you to improve and help you in your relationships. You see what I mean? Ooh, I think that was sufficiently gentle. Gentle me. And I haven't clowned around too much. I was going to say enough. I've behaved myself. Anyways, so I'm going to end this video here. And thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing, subscribing. Do help me to grow by sharing my channel. I know I'm silly, and some people are like, don't want anyone to know you listen to a silly woman because you'll be judged. You're worried about being judged. But remember, the philosopher and the clown are two sides of the same coin. There you go. So until next time, love.